New York Times. Head of president of Egypt calls for calm as protests grow. Says they're being funded by the West. No kidding. Israeli leader makes case against Iran on U.S. TV. All of this is designed. Stir the Arabs up, put al-Qaeda in, get a civil war between Shiite and Sunni going. Just tell the American people, hey, that's al-Qaeda, that's Iran. When Iran's the opposite of al-Qaeda, they're Shiite. And then say we got to attack Syria and Iran because al-Qaeda is there. And it is true al-Qaeda's in Syria. They're in the news. I'll dig it out of the stack, saying we got to have boots on the ground. Let's cover that first briefly with Webster Tarpley. Then we'll get into the economics. Then we'll tie it all together. But, Webster, I understand you were on yesterday and privately told me, yes, we've never been in a greater danger of an Iran attack, first Syria, World War III. But you said, I don't want to really go there because this is being used for political stuff. Let's just be honest, geopolitically, in a brief summation, tying it all together up front, what are we facing right now? How dangerous is this period in the world? What is the overall, in just 2 minutes, method to the mega banks, Anglo-American system program? What is the end game? What do they think they're going to get out of this?
Well, naturally, the war danger has been high and remains high, and I think it focuses in particular on Syria. The Syrian civil war, I guess by now it is a civil war, or really more of an invasion by these al-Qaeda death squads.
Yeah, proxy NATO al-Qaeda destabilization, asymmetrical special forces attack program.
Right. This looks very much like the Spanish Civil War, right? The Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939. Was the beginning of a clash between Nazi Germany, fascist Italy supporting Franco and his fascists, and then there was the Spanish Republic, which was supported by the Soviets and some others. And you could see that was a kind of a prelude to World War II. And the Spanish Civil War ended in March of 1939, and then World War II began pretty much in September. So the danger is that. However, let's also take a step back. I looked at that article in the Daily Telegraph, and I just had to laugh. When you see a headline that says, British Armada, oh, the British Armada, the massive British naval power in the Gulf. Well, this is a bad joke. The British Armada hasn't been sailing for quite a few centuries, probably World War II.
Probably the point is they massed ships before Gulf I and II. This has been done before.
That's fine. On the other hand, this is ironic. This is a scheduled exercise. This is a drill. Now, nobody knows better than I do that drills go live. On the other hand, the majority of drills do not go live, right? The majority of drills are drills. It's the one that comes along every now and then that goes live that is the one that you have to worry about. But anyway, we have to look at capabilities, right? You can't worry about intentions. You have to look at capabilities. And the capabilities for war are certainly there. It seems to me, again, that this focuses more on Syria in the immediate sense than it does on Iran. If you're going to start a war with Iran, and I think the imperialist planners have seen this for quite a while, you've got to eliminate Syria above all, because Syria is a principal ally, really the only ally of Iran in the Arab world, and you've got to do something about Hezbollah. Because Hezbollah is sitting there very close to Israel, and they have built up a tremendous capability with various kinds of missiles, right? They have the sort of World War II type missiles, but now they've got some pretty
you got to cut off Hezbollah's supply lines from Iran through Syria.
So I think it's less likely that there's going to be a direct attack on Iran until they have been thoroughly isolated, and whether that works or not is now the big question. So it seems to me there's a lot of psychological warfare, and we can't always be preaching, the end of the world for next week. This doesn't work. I would be a little bit skeptical about this hype that we see in the London Daily Telegraph and elsewhere. Because, again, it seems to me that...
well, Webster, let me stop you on that. It was in 2006 or 7 that I disagreed with you when you said the Iran war was on, and I said it wasn't. We had a big fight over that. And I said it wasn't on at that time. You do remember that, correct?
Yes, and I'll tell you what stopped it then was when Putin made his trip to Tehran and got photographed with Ahmadinejad.
Okay, so exactly. So my point is we have stopped this from happening. We have stopped this from happening.
We have done something.
Well, no, the American people, yeah.
No, the Russian government, Putin. The main person, the biggest factor for peace in today's world is Putin, and there's no other way to cut it. And don't be embarrassed to say so. You don't have to have provisos about not liking Putin. Like him or hate him, Putin is the big factor for peace because he's the only one who deters the Anglo-Americans. He provides cover for the Chinese, and he allows these other countries to sort of follow along and build up.
Sure, and we all know why Putin's involved, because the road to Moscow goes through Damascus and Tehran. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at Infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. By the way, Dr. Tarpley is a doctor of history. He's an author, researcher. He has an incredible mind. I'm not trying to get in a fight with him here as we went to break. Saying, he's like, hey, let's not say, we're going to have end of the world. I'm not saying that. Then I'm like, hey, Webster, you thought back, what was in 2007 that it was imminent going to happen. And it was. And I see the same parallels, but then some. You've got open talk of the Japanese and China heading towards war, says U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. Regardless, that's an amazing headline. You've got Chinese leaders disappearing. You've got coups going on. Zero Hedge has an excellent article we've got up at Infowars.com, A World on the Verge. And I'm going to cover this a little bit in the next segment before we get into the economics here. My point is, Webster, the average American isn't even paying attention to what's going on to the point of thinking, oh, we've got to give our rights up Al-Qaeda. And I'm just pointing out Al-Qaeda is this jihadi brigade of the globalist. And I know, of course, you've helped expose that for decades. So I'm just trying to understand here what is going on. I mean, tell us what you think is happening militarily. I mean, are you saying we shouldn't be concerned?
Yes, you have to be concerned. But again, I think it's important to restate the framework also for your radio listeners who might not have heard the conversation yesterday. I would say this is the Romney campaign. In other words, if you want to know who's blowing up the Middle East right now, the Romney campaign is doing that. And the Romney campaign means not some little group of people in Boston who put out press releases and schedule campaign events, but it means this complex of forces, in particular in the intelligence community, that want Romney in and Obama out. And that seems to be the majority of the, or at least the most active part of the intelligence community. It goes to this CIA Mormon mafia. There's a CIA Mormon mafia, an FBI Mormon mafia. The CIA Mormon mafia would come into it in the following way. The ambassador in Libya, who happened to be at the consulate in Benghazi, or actually at a safe house attached to the consulate in Benghazi, was killed by this group called Ansar al-Sharia, as far as can be told. So Ansar al-Sharia is just the Libyan Islamic fighting group, or Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, under a new name. And the head of that is this guy Kumu. And I wrote about Kumu a year and a half ago. Kumu was part of the Islamic Emirate of Derna. In other words, a terrorist principality that had been created by this guy Hasidi Hassadi Belhaj. All these guys have multiple names. The groups have multiple names. You have to get used to this. They're all moving targets. But this Kumu appears to have given the order, or actually carried it out himself, so that his professionally trained veterans who have been fighting in Libya, a lot of them have been fighting in Syria, they went and killed Ambassador Stevens